We have looked at the permanent value and we have seen that this is the default value whereby the supervisor will always restart the child process if it terminates, even if the termination is not caused by an error, because the supervisor will think that something has gone wrong within the server. The next value that we're going to look at is the transient value. With this value, the supervisor will only restart the child process if it terminates abnormally. By abnormal, I mean if you are explicitly stopping your GenServer process, there are reasons that you pass when you stop the GenServer process. You can stop it with the reason normal, or the reason shutdown, or the reason with a tuple of an atom shutdown, and any term. If these reasons are not part of the termination, the supervisor will think that something has gone wrong and it will restart the child process. Let's look at an example within our message server. In our message server, when the GenServer process completes its job and the status is either failed or done, we are we are terminating the GenServer process with the reason normal. Now that we don't want the supervisor to restart the GenServer process whenever it terminates, even if the job is completed, we need to override the default value that is passed to the dynamic supervisor. So we can do that here when calling the dynamic supervisor start child. At this point, let's override by passing the restart option, and give it the value transient. Once that is done, you can start the application. And now we can start our GenServer process dynamically. So I'm going to pattern match the atom, okay, and a PID, and call the message server start message server. So we have started the GenServer process. Now let's so it has terminated. I can assume we have started with the third path, though I did not want to start with this, and it's still okay. So you can see our GenServer process is terminated, and this is because we are raising an error once the GenServer has been initialized at a point where we are sending a retry request after every 5 seconds, and it's going to be handled by the handle info. So at this point we are raising an error, and this will stop the GenServer process from running. So this is like we have introduced a bug within the server. The supervisor has noticed that something has gone wrong, and it's trying to restart the GenServer process every time. So this is the behavior of the transient. It will start it if something goes wrong within the server. Now let's look at the happy path flow. Before even I got there, remember that I mentioned that even if if the GenServer process stops with a reason which is not the one that I mentioned, an atom normal, atom shutdown, or a tuple of an atom shutdown and any term, the supervisor will know that the GenServer process has terminated abnormally. So we can look at that first. With that, I'm going to comment this out. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a small change at this point. So I'm not going to stop the GenServer normally. I can just do anything. What can I do here? I can pass any reason. Let's pass something. I can even paste this here. So I've intentionally introduced a bug again here when we are stopping the GenServer process. Recompile, then start a new. No, I don't need to start a new server because the supervisor had already started the GenServer process. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take an advantage of the name that we registered our GenServer process with, and that was an Atom1 because I don't have a PID, even though I can access it. So let's send a request to the GenServer process to send a message. I will use the GenServer cast. Pass it an Atom1. This is the name of the registered GenServer. Then send it the expected message. Pass it a number. We have sent a request for the GenServer process to send a message to that number. You can see that we have some logger info. The job is completed, yes, but now we are not stopping our GenServer process normally as expected. With this case, you can notice that the supervisor has started another child process. So that is what I meant by the child process terminated abnormally. We can restore the changes, then move to the happy path flow. Okay, so I've restored the changes. Now I'll need to recompile this. Okay, so here I'm going to send another request to the GenServer process to send a message to the number that you are giving it. Once it completes, it will terminate normally, or it will exit normally, and we don't expect the supervisor to restart it. I'll call the GenServer cast again. You can see process termination with reason normal and the job is completed, and nothing is happening because the supervisor has not started another child process.